We're about to delve into 7 transformative habits that turned my life around in just 1 week. Yes, only 7 days. I know it might sound like a claim from a cheesy self-help book, but trust me, these are not the same old generic tips you see everywhere. These are raw, real, and practical habits that I personally embraced, and the transformation I experienced was nothing short of miraculous. I faced the struggles, celebrated the breakthroughs, and now I'm here to share it all with you. Whether you want to boost productivity, enhance your mental health, or simply add a spark to your daily life, these habits are designed to work wonders. So grab your favorite cup of coffee, sink into your coziest chair, and let's embark on this journey together. Stick with me until the end because these aren't just theoretical ideas. They're actionable steps you can start applying today. Plus, I'll share some heartfelt personal stories and intimate moments from my journey, giving you a deeper understanding of how these habits made a lasting impact on me. Let's dive in. The first habit that reshaped my life was waking up early. Now, let me be brutally honest. I was far from a morning person. My bed and I shared a passionate relationship, and the snooze button was my guilty pleasure. Mornings used to feel like an overwhelming race against time, leaving me drained before the day even started. But I decided to challenge myself and embrace the early morning hours, and wow, what a game changer it turned out to be. I set my alarm for 5 a.m., and let me tell you, those first few mornings were nothing short of torturous. Dragging myself out of bed felt like an uphill battle, and I often questioned whether it was even worth it. But by the 3rd day, something magical began to unfold. The serenity of the early morning hours wrapped around me like a warm blanket. There was an undeniable sense of tranquility in the air, a calming stillness that felt like the world's best-kept secret. With the gift of extra time, I began exploring simple yet meaningful morning rituals. A gentle stretch, a brisk jog, or even a calming walk became my wake-up calls, energizing both my body and mind. I carved out a few precious moments to meditate, focus on my breath, and set my intentions for the day. This mindfulness practice grounded me, creating a sense of clarity and calm that rippled through the rest of my day. One morning, as I sipped my coffee and watched the sunrise from my balcony, I felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude. The sky was painted with hues of gold and crimson, and the world seemed to whisper its secrets. It was in that quiet, intimate moment that I realized waking up early wasn't just about starting the day. It was about reclaiming a piece of my soul. This habit doesn't mean you need to rise with the sun every day, but I encourage you to experiment. Start by setting your alarm just 15 minutes earlier and see how it feels. Use that time for something that nourishes you, whether it's journaling, yoga, or simply savoring a peaceful breakfast. The next habit that worked wonders was daily exercise. Full disclosure, I was not a fan of working out. The excuses poured out of me like water. I'm too tired. I don't have time. I'll start tomorrow. Sound familiar? But one day, I caught myself in the mirror and thought, enough is enough. I started small, with just 10 minutes of movement a day. Sometimes it was a quick dance session to my favorite playlist, other times a calming yoga flow, and as the days passed, those 10 minutes grew into 20, then 30. The benefits were undeniable. My body felt stronger, my energy levels soared, and I began to look forward to this time I had carved out for myself. There was something sensually invigorating about feeling my heartbeat quicken during a run, the light sheen of sweat on my skin, and the rush of endorphins that followed. It wasn't just about fitness. It was about reconnecting with my body in a deeply personal way. One evening, after a particularly satisfying workout, I caught my partner's eye across the room. The spark between us was undeniable, and it reminded me that taking care of myself didn't just improve my life, it deepened our connection. That night, as we shared a quiet moment, I felt more confident, vibrant, and alive than I had in years. Exercise isn't just about shedding pounds or building muscle. It's a celebration of what your body can do. Find an activity you love, whether it's dancing, swimming, or hiking, and let it ignite a new passion within you. Trust me, it's worth it. I made a bold commitment to move my body every single day for a week. At first, it sounded straightforward, even simple, but what unfolded during those 7 days was nothing short of transformative. I started with just 20 minutes each day, experimenting with a mix of yoga, jogging, and strength training to keep things fresh and exciting. I knew that variety would keep me engaged and prevent boredom from creeping in. The initial days were undeniably challenging. My muscles were sore, my energy felt depleted, and I often questioned why I had taken on this challenge. But every time I felt like giving up, I reminded myself of my why. I wasn't doing this to achieve some superficial goal. I was doing this to feel alive, to reconnect with myself, and to improve both my physical and mental well-being. By the 4th day, something remarkable happened. I woke up feeling energized, as if my body had finally adjusted to this new rhythm. My mood, too, had taken a turn for the better. I felt lighter, happier, and more optimistic. The irritability that often lingered in the background had faded, replaced by a sense of calm and positivity. I remember one morning distinctly. It was a crisp, cool day, and I laced up my sneakers for a jog. The moment my feet hit the pavement, I felt a surge of freedom. The air was fresh, the sky a brilliant blue, and it was just me, the open road, and my thoughts. With every stride, I felt more connected to the world around me and, more importantly, to myself. It wasn't just exercise, it was liberation. As the week went on, I started noticing physical changes too. My posture improved, I felt stronger, and I could see subtle but encouraging signs of fitness in the mirror. Yet, the biggest transformation wasn't physical, it was in my mindset. Exercise stopped being a chore and became a sacred time for self-care. It was a space where I could disconnect from the chaos of life and reconnect with my inner self. One of the most surprising moments was when I decided to try yoga. I'd always dismissed it, thinking I wasn't flexible enough or that it wouldn't feel like a real workout. But from the very first session, I was captivated. Yoga taught me to slow down, breathe deeply, and listen to my body in ways I never had before. The stretching, the flow, the mindfulness. It was sensual, grounding, and deeply empowering. By the end of the week, yoga had become one of my favorite rituals, a practice that nourished my body and soothed my mind. This commitment to daily movement didn't just make me feel healthier, it made me feel more vibrant, confident, and alive. One evening, as I stretched on the living room floor, my partner joined me unexpectedly. What started as a casual moment turned into something deeply intimate. The quiet laughter, the shared touches, and the closeness we felt were a reminder that taking care of myself wasn't just for me. It enriched our relationship too. The lesson I took from this week was profound. Taking care of your body directly affects your mental and emotional well-being. It's not about chasing perfection or pushing yourself to extremes. It's about finding joy in movement, however that looks for you, and making it a part of your life. Whether it's dancing, hiking, or a brisk walk, find what lights you up and commit to it, even if it's just a few minutes a day. The rewards will ripple through every part of your life. Another habit that unexpectedly became a cornerstone of my personal growth journey was journaling. At first I was skeptical. I'd always thought of journaling as something for people with loads of free time or an inherent knack for introspection. But in just 1 week, this practice shifted my perspective entirely. Every night before bed, I gave myself 10 uninterrupted minutes to write. I kept it simple, a plain notebook and a pen, nothing fancy or digital. The first night I stared at the blank page, unsure of where to begin. But then I decided to write about my day, what went well, what didn't, and how I felt. As the days passed, my journaling evolved. I found myself writing about my goals, dreams, fears, and even my insecurities. It felt like having an honest conversation with myself, one where there were no judgments or expectations. That's when the magic started to happen. Through journaling, I began to uncover patterns in my thoughts and behaviors. I realized how often I worried about things beyond my control, and how some of my stressors were actually opportunities for growth. One particularly stressful day at work left me feeling overwhelmed. That night, I wrote about the specific events that triggered my stress, how they made me feel, and what I could do differently in the future. Putting it all on paper gave me clarity and helped me process my emotions in a way I never had before. By the end of the week, journaling had become more than just a nightly ritual. It was my sanctuary. It was where I could pour out my heart, celebrate my victories, and confront my challenges. It gave me a sense of control over my emotions and a deeper understanding of myself. Journaling became more than just a way to express my thoughts. It became a way to track my progress and celebrate the small victories that often go unnoticed. Each day, I documented even the tiniest milestones, like nailing a work presentation or finishing a task I'd been procrastinating on. Looking back at these entries gave me a sense of accomplishment that fueled my motivation. For instance, one evening, I wrote about how nervous I'd been before a big presentation and how the preparation paid off. Seeing the journey captured in my journal made the experience feel even more meaningful. I also introduced a gratitude section in my journal, where I jotted down 3 things I was thankful for each day. This simple practice shifted my focus from what I lacked to what I already had, filling my life with positivity. One entry stands out: a stranger helping me with my grocery bags when I was clearly struggling. Writing about it made me feel so grateful, and it also inspired me to pay that kindness forward. Through journaling, I uncovered so much about myself, my desires, fears, strengths, and weaknesses. It became a therapeutic ritual, a safe space where I could unravel my emotions and thoughts without judgment. Writing down my worries and joys allowed me to see patterns, make better decisions, and approach life with more clarity and self-compassion. If you've never tried journaling, I urge you to start. Don't worry about making it perfect or profound. Just write whatever comes to mind. The process itself is transformative, offering peace and insight in ways you might not expect. Mindful eating was another habit that shifted my perspective and transformed my relationship with food. Like many people, I used to rush through meals, eating while scrolling on my phone or working on my laptop. I hardly paid attention to what I was consuming, often eating more than I needed. For 1 week, I decided to eat mindfully, and it changed everything. I started by creating a calming environment for my meals. I cleared my dining table, set a proper place for myself, and removed all distractions. No phone, no TV, no laptop. It felt strange at first to sit alone with my food in silence, but it quickly became a soothing ritual. Before eating, I took a few deep breaths to center myself, bringing my full focus to the meal in front of me. The first thing I noticed was how much more I enjoyed my food. Tasting each bite, savoring the flavors, and paying attention to the textures made meals feel indulgent and luxurious. Foods I had eaten 1,000 times before suddenly had new, delightful nuances. The crunch of fresh vegetables, the juiciness of fruit, and even the creaminess of oatmeal became experiences to savor rather than mindless moments. Eating mindfully also helped me tune into my body's signals. I learned to recognize when I was truly hungry and when I was full. This simple awareness led me to naturally eat less without feeling deprived. I also noticed how different foods made me feel. Processed, heavy foods left me sluggish and uncomfortable, while whole, fresh foods gave me energy and a sense of lightness. One evening, I had a craving for something sweet after dinner. Normally, I would have reached for dessert without a second thought, but this time I paused. I asked myself if I was truly hungry or just looking for comfort after a long day. The answer was clear. I wasn't hungry. Instead, I opted for a warm cup of herbal tea, and it felt like a small but powerful victory. Mindful eating also opened my eyes to the emotional connections I had with food. I started recognizing moments when I ate out of boredom, stress, or even loneliness. Instead of reaching for snacks, I began addressing those emotions directly. Sometimes I needed a walk, a warm bath, or a heartfelt conversation, not a bag of chips. Incorporating mindful eating into my routine was a game changer. It helped me build a healthier relationship with food, one based on awareness, appreciation, and balance. The simple act of being present during meals turned eating into a joyful, nourishing experience rather than a mindless habit. Improving my digestion and enhancing my overall sense of well-being were just the beginning of what mindful eating brought into my life. This simple practice became a cornerstone of self-care that extended far beyond the initial week I had committed to. If you're considering mindful eating, start with just one meal a day. Sit down, free from distractions, take a deep breath, and savor each bite. Pay attention to the textures, flavors, and the way the food nourishes your body. You might be surprised by how transformative this seemingly simple act can be, turning a mundane routine into a moment of gratitude and connection with yourself. Limiting screen time was one of the hardest but most rewarding changes I made. It was challenging because, like many of us, I had grown so dependent on my devices. Scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, and constantly checking emails had become second nature. But I realized how much this endless screen time was draining me, mentally, emotionally, and physically. It was time for a change. I set a daily limit of just 1 hour for non-work-related screen use. The first few days were rough. I kept reaching for my phone out of habit, only to stop myself and redirect my attention elsewhere. It felt uncomfortable at first, but the results were worth it. The extra time in my day felt like a gift, a treasure I didn't realize I was missing. Suddenly, I had the space to rediscover hobbies and passions I'd neglected for years. I picked up an old favorite book, doodled in my sketchpad, and even ventured into the kitchen to try new recipes. One evening, instead of watching TV after dinner, I decided to take a stroll in the park. The crisp air, the gentle rustling of leaves, and the rhythm of my footsteps brought a calmness I hadn't felt in a long time. Walking beneath the soft glow of streetlights, I felt present and alive in a way that screens never provided. That simple walk became my favorite evening ritual, a time to reflect, recharge, and enjoy the beauty of the world around me. The changes didn't stop there. My sleep improved dramatically. I used to lie in bed scrolling through social media until my eyes felt heavy, but the endless feed left my mind restless and buzzing. By cutting out screen time before bed, I found it easier to wind down. Instead of staring at a screen, I embraced bedtime routines like reading a physical book, meditating, or simply reflecting on the day. My sleep became deeper, and I woke up feeling refreshed and energized. The mental health benefits were equally profound. Without the constant barrage of notifications, news updates, and social media comparisons, I felt lighter. The anxiety that came with trying to keep up with the digital world started to fade. I was more present in conversations, more attentive to loved ones, and more engaged with life itself. It felt as though a fog had lifted, allowing me to experience the world with newfound clarity and joy. One day, I spent an entire afternoon at a cozy cafe with nothing but a notebook and pen. I sipped on a warm cup of coffee, wrote down my thoughts, sketched a little, and planned goals for the future. There were no interruptions, no pings, no distractions. That quiet, uninterrupted time felt like a love letter to my soul, a chance to reconnect with myself in the most meaningful way. Of course, there were moments of temptation. There were days when I found myself reaching for my phone without even realizing it. But each time, I reminded myself of the peace and fulfillment I was gaining by setting these boundaries. I learned to redirect my focus to something more enriching, a conversation with a loved one, a creative project, or simply soaking in the beauty of the moment. Limiting screen time isn't about completely eliminating technology from your life. It's about creating balance and being intentional with how you use it. If you feel overwhelmed or disconnected, I encourage you to give this a try. Start small, perhaps by cutting back an hour a day, and use that extra time to reconnect with yourself, your loved ones, and the world around you. You might be amazed at how much richer life feels when you step away from the screens and fully embrace the present moment. As we wrap up this journey through the 7 habits that transformed my life in just 1 week, I want to leave you with this. Small, intentional changes can lead to remarkable transformations. It's not about striving for perfection. It's about progress. Start with one habit, adjust it to fit your life, and watch as the ripple effects begin to unfold. If you feel inspired, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share which habit you're thinking of adopting or any questions you might have. This community thrives on shared experiences, and your story could inspire someone else to begin their own journey. If you found value in this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss future content filled with tips and insights to elevate your life. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Remember, small changes lead to big results. Let's keep growing, evolving, and transforming our everyday routines into powerful acts of self-improvement. Together, we can create lives filled with intention, purpose, and joy.